Today I'm going to be talking about how I handled things in my business during my third trimester of my first pregnancy. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name is Lauren Simpson. I'm helping you maximize your time and talents as a growing small business owner, so don't forget to subscribe. So as a reminder, I own and operate a bridal beauty business, which means that we work on weddings and we do a lot of hair and makeup services for those weddings, as well as special events and then other beauty services in our studio. But weddings is the main part. So the first thing that I did throughout my whole pregnancy, and then really just made sure that I was completely done with in that third trimester were trial previews. So anybody that was getting married in 2023, I had to make sure that they got their trial preview by a certain time because I wanted to make sure that they were all set, and if they needed a second appointment, there was still time for it, and things like that. So I really got started on this in January, when I knew that I was going to hopefully be pregnant in that year. I got started ahead of time. But throughout the rest of the year, some people wanted to have their trial closer to the wedding. So basically I had to make sure that all of these were complete by the end of September was the cutoff. So if you were getting married in October, November, or December, you had to make sure that they were done by then. Then we also had some people that wanted to have their trials before booking their date, which is fine, it happens. And they were maybe 2024 brides. But if they wanted to do it this way, they also needed to have that trial done by the end of September. They knew if they wanted to go ahead with booking the 2024 wedding at that point. So I had to get really specific when it came to planning how I was going to do my maternity leave. So I basically mapped it out that I was going to be completely done taking clients at the end of September. This included weddings and going to weddings and working them. This included anybody that I was taking at the studio. So you have lash clients and brow clients, trials, makeup lessons, anything that I was kind of just doing, I had to wrap up by the end of September because I didn't know when I was going to give birth in October. So this is my first pregnancy. I didn't know how it could go, but I knew that I was 36 weeks by the end of September, and I knew at that point, really anything could happen. 38 weeks is about that full term point, but I know of several people that went in around that 36 or 37 week mark and ended up having a baby. I could have also not had a baby until November, so it really was up in the air, but I wanted to play it safe than sorry because I didn't want to have to reschedule people like super last minute when I'm literally in labor. And then also I was just done by this point. Physically, I was going through it. It was a lot. That last trimester really was hard, and working through September was a very tough month. I definitely found out that if I were to have another pregnancy and another child, I would cut off the weddings that I work at the 32-week mark. I'd probably still do some studio stuff that last month, but I would not be working weddings because physically those last few weeks, I had my husband driving me to the weddings. I had him carrying my makeup kit in and out, and I had to take a lot of breaks, and I was just suffering, and I was really, trying to put on a brave face, but it was not a good time. So that's also how I found out I would change things. But basically, when I came to the leave, I was done by the end of September, and then every day up until birth, I was in my inbox in October, just making sure to keep afloat so that it didn't get too backed up, and making sure that weddings with my team were still going off without a hitch every weekend. And that's kind of what I was doing. So to further break down that leave, I actually ended up writing detailed emails to a lot of my clients. So basically I had different emails drafted up for if you were in October, or if you were in November, December, or if you were the first quarter and then the second quarter of 2024. And this was basically just to inform people with what point of the journey they were in, and what to expect. So my October brides, I wanted to really reassure them that, I am here for you until I give birth. And when I do give birth, you are in really good hands with my team members. You have nothing to worry about. Your weddings will go off without a hitch, and it's all great. But there is a chance that if you email me, like when I'm giving birth or soon after I give birth, that I may not get back to you. November, December, I will be getting back to you, but I am just going to be a little slower in my response time. I pride myself on being really communicative and really on top of things for these past several years that I've really been building the business. So I just wanted to tell them, hey, I'm going to be in my inbox weekly instead of daily. I know that's a little weird, but just kind of bear with me. And then the first quarter and second quarter brides were same thing. I kind of told them, you know, hey, I'm here on a weekly basis. So, you know, you may get other emails that are already scheduled to come out, but I'll be a slower response time. We'll get to scheduling your trial in a couple months and things like that, just kind of informing them. And, you know, some people responded, some people didn't, but the people that responded were really sweet about it and really understanding, and that was great. So that's kind of how I worked my maternity leave. Was October, before giving birth, I was done physically, and then the first few weeks after birth, I was basically off the planet of my business. I was not doing anything business-wise. And then after that, for November, December, I was in my inbox weekly, but I wasn't taking physical clients. And then in January, which we are currently in, I am in my inbox on a mostly daily basis, at least a little bit, to try and keep afloat. And then I also am like booking. This is a very heavy booking time, so we're booking a lot of weddings. And then I am getting physically back to work slowly. So I'm not diving in like 40-hour weeks. Thankfully, I don't have to do anything like that. But I am going to the studio, you know, a few times this month to start trials back up and lash appointments and things like that. And February and March are looking a little bit more steady as well. So that's exciting. Something I also did is, if you haven't noticed, if you've been an avid watcher of my videos on this channel, I did continue to upload on a weekly basis until about mid-December. So how I did that was I literally worked so hard it was like August and a bit of September to basically film ahead of time. I did a lot of pre-filming my content and pre-editing my content before I gave birth and uploading it, making sure that all the cards were there and the descriptions and the tags. It took a lot of work. And let me tell you, again, physically I was going through it. Those last few days that I spent filming, it was hard. It was hard because I was standing on swollen ankles and my back was killing me. I could barely breathe. It was a whole thing. But hopefully that didn't come off in the videos. Hopefully you guys still enjoyed them. But I'm really glad I ended up doing this because I actually saw my channel continue to grow positively, even though I was completely off the radar and on maternity leave and not doing anything actively with the channel. I would get back to some comments, but that's about it. So I did that, and it took a lot of work, a lot of hours, a lot of prep, but I'm really glad that I was able to do that, and so that you guys got regularly scheduled content pushed to you guys, and it just really helped my channel. So I did as much as I possibly could. I did want to do, I think it was like one more filming day, and I would have had like 3 or 4 more videos, and so 3 or 4 more weeks worth of content. But when I tell you I had just hit a wall, I had to call it. I could not, I couldn't do it anymore. But I'm really proud with how I did it because my original goal with this channel was to consistently upload every single week for a whole year and see how it went. And that's what I ended up doing, just about. Like it was mid or end of December in 2022 that I had started uploading to this channel. And then there we go. So I did it. So I was really proud that I made it happen, even throughout the difficulty of pregnancy. And then lastly, this is like half the third trimester and half the fourth trimester, which if you haven't seen my fourth trimester video, it was kind of like a fun, casual, get ready with me kind of video, but I was talking all about how I handled the postpartum period of handling a business while you are freshly postpartum with a new baby. But basically, I was in early and active labor, still in my inbox, still texting my teammates, and still posting to Instagram stories like little happy wedding day snippets and stuff that we always do for our clients. And people did not know that I was in labor. And I even, the morning that I had to go for my follow-up appointment and I knew I was going to end up in the hospital and giving birth, I still got back to a couple emails that I knew I had to get back to, and I was able to put on my email away message, and there we go. Like, I still did it. Sounds crazy to say, but that's business. Another thing I did was prep my away messages. So I have different points that you would get this away message. So my first one is if you were to inquire through my website, there is an email that automatically gets pushed to every single person saying, hey, thanks for inquiring. You know, here's when you can expect to hear from me. Looking forward to talking. Let me know if you have questions, yada, yada. I made a different one that basically said, hey, thanks for inquiring. You know, I'm on maternity leave. Here's, you know, when you can expect to hear from me reasonably. Just so people knew that, hey, I don't ordinarily take a week or two to get back to you, but this is kind of what's happening right now. So there was that. I also had my away message in 2 of my inboxes. So basically then if you emailed me directly, you got that sent through, said basically the same thing. I also sent people to my Instagram in those away messages. So I said, if there's any updates or anything changing to what I said here, you can check my stories and it'll likely be there. So I really just prepped with being a good communicator and setting expectations in every possible way that I could so that I was still being of service and professional even when I was not able to be there. And that's basically it. And the last couple weeks leading up to the birth that I spent, besides being in my inbox, I was working on like updating a couple things on my website now that I had like a little bit of time. And then I also was just prepping for the birth. So doing the things to kind of help my body get ready for that. And also meal prepping. I made, I think it was like 10 different meal variations of freezer meals. Some were Instapot, Crock-Pot, oven, some were vegan, some were not. Like, it was like a whole thing. And let me tell you, those really did come in handy. So this is just advice to anybody giving birth, make freezer meals. I'm telling you, it's hard when you're super pregnant to do it. Because again, physically, like I had to take breaks in between prepping those meals. It was hard. I was very pregnant and I was very done. It was 110% worth it, especially because we did end up having some complications and having a NICU baby, and it just kind of made it even more time consuming. So, but yeah, that's basically it. That's how I handled my 3rd trimester while I was getting super pregnant and uncomfortable and just kind of making it work. Still running a business, still making money, still being a good communicator and a good service provider. And it is definitely possible. It does get harder each week that passes. It gets harder the more pregnant you get. That 1st trimester, you feel like you're run over by a truck. So that's hard energy-wise. And then 2nd trimester is the sweet spot, even though it wasn't like the best for me either. It wasn't as good as some people say it is. And then 3rd trimester is just like increasingly difficult. But if you have like a supportive partner like I did, who was able to help me kind of get through some of those days, that's also very, very helpful. I hope this video was helpful if you are approaching the 3rd trimester and like, what the heck am I going to do? How do I run a business while I am also mentally and physically preparing to have a baby? I hope that helps. And make sure to check out that 4th trimester one as well, because that was the biggest doozy of all.